Hello, I'm in Bristol for the first time in my life and I'm here for one thing. It's actually a layover for a coach because trains in this country are just really expensive and it was the cheapest way to Cardiff. But other than that, Bristol has some really interesting parts of its industrial past. And I thought, since I've got 2 hours, I might as well take you guys along with me so we can check it out together. But it is a 20-minute walk, so I think we should get going. And here it is, or was, because it really isn't here anymore. This was the site of the world's first shot tower. And you're probably wondering, what on earth is a shot tower? And so was I when I was researching for this video. So I'm going to let 1950s presenter me explain it all to you.
A shot tower is, as it says on the tin, a tower. And here is the image of one that once stood here. This tower was used to make small diameter shot balls for muskets, shotguns and other weaponry. As a simplification, lead is heated until molten right at the top, poured through a zinc sieve, which has a higher melting point than lead, and it falls through like water out of a rose of a watering can. As the liquid lead falls, it forms pellets, and at the bottom crashes into a pool of water to cool the lead down and solidify into a perfect round lead shot. Sorry, it's just a tickle. Anyway, as I said earlier, this shot tower was the first in the world.
It stood at the corner of Redcliffe Hill and Parade. It was invented by a gentleman called William Watts, who was a plumber by trade. Legend has it he had a dream about his invention, possibly reoccurring, and allegedly test his theory on the nearby St.Mary spire. Real or not, this led to him in 1775 converting his very own home into a shot tower, which is just a bonkers concept. He did this by building a tower atop, as well as digging into the soft sandstone below, to achieve a drop height of roughly 90 foot or 27 metres in new money. From this, it was good enough to produce 2mm diameter shot. By 1782, the tower was complete and production started. Of course, him being the first, he was granted a patent for his process, of which there is actually a poem about.
Mr. Watts very soon a patent got, so that only himself could make patent shot. King George and his son declared that they had not shoot with anything else, and they ordered a lot. The regent swore that the smallest spot in a small bird's eye he'd surely dot, and every sportsman, both sober and sot, from the peer in his hall to the hind in his cot, vowed that they'd cared not a single jot, when the game was strong and the chase was hot, for anything else, patent shot.
Just in case you're wondering on how they made lead shot prior to Watt's design, well, you had a few options. You could either make expensive and use time-consuming moulds, or you could just drop molten lead into barrels of water, which didn't really make them that round. They were prone to imperfections. Saying that, Watt's design wasn't perfect either, and the way the tower was built, he couldn't produce larger shot sizes. So an alternate method was used of cutting up lead sheet, putting it into a barrel, giving it a good old tumble, and hoping it will come out roundish. And the limiting factor on making the size of your shot depends on the height of the tower, as the larger the shot, the longer it takes to solidify on the way down.
And rather interestingly, it's believed that Watts got rather lucky, as the lead he procured wasn't that pure, which helped, as an assistant is needed to help increase the surface tension so that lead can form the pellet shape. As pure, it is unable to do so. This assistant can be in the form of antimony, which is copper and tin, or arsenic, which Watts lead, by pure coincidence, already had in it.
Now, unfortunately, Watts declared bankruptcy in 1794, but his shot tower survived and went through various ownership up until 1868, where it found an owner that stuck around. Shepherd, Bush and Patent Shot Company, who kept using the shot tower all the way up until its demise in 1968. And it was only demolished, not because it was inadequate, although it was pretty close and antiquated, but because this road right here needed widening, and it was in the way of progress. 250 plus years gone, just like that.
However, that's not the end of the story, as Sheldon Brush had another site not too far away on Cheese Lane, and built another shot tower, bigger, better, brighter, and far more brutalist.
And this one still exists.
The tower was designed by E.N. Underwood and Partners and consists of reinforced concrete with a 12-sided crucible room atop. It stands at 142 feet or 43 metres tall, with a drop height of 120 foot or 37 metres. Inside there's a lift to the top, where there was a gas-fired cauldron, and I believe they used more modern copper sieves instead of zinc. At the bottom, the pellets would be transferred by conveyor belt straight into the processing building.
A newer method of shot production, as well as the decline in use of lead shot due to environmental concerns, led to production inside the tower ceasing in the late 1980s. And by 1994, the entire plant had been shut down. In 95, the tower was due for demolition, but English Heritage swooped in and saved the building by giving it a Grade 2 listing.
In 2005, it was incorporated into an office development, as it remains today, and apparently there's a boardroom at the top. And how Watts was the first to be built, Cheese Lane was one of the last ever built, and one of only 3 shot towers still standing today in Britain.
Well, I hope you all found this topic just as interesting as I did. Of course, I would love to hear your thoughts on it down below. Thank you ever so much for watching. A huge thank you to all my supporters on Ko-fi, and until next time, ta-ra. I'm keeping that in. Here's. Bristol's not Buxton, is it? And here it is. Here it is. And here it is. And here it is. And here it is. Well, here it is. And here it is. And this one still exists. And this one still exists. This one still exists. Fantastic.